Often when I'm fixing or making stuff I need to apply heat, and for many years I've just reached for the nearest gas blowtorch, like this one. But frequently I find I'm not getting enough heat, or in the case of this particular torch, the flame is too narrow for what I'm trying to achieve. I was reminded of how useful the old paraffin blow lamps were when I watched some videos by Ben's workshop. I'll put a link to his channel down in the description. Anyway, I dug out these old blow lamps that were sitting in the dusty corner and quickly realised that they're not as big as the one that Ben uses. And bigger is better, right? So, when I was walking around a recent auto jumble, I spotted this Max Sievert No.4 Vapouria blow lamp, which looks much more up to the job. It needs some TLC, the regulator is seized, and the leather washer thingy on the pump is dried out. The tin work is all rusty, not that I'm going to do much about that. But they're fairly simple things, so assuming nothing is actually damaged, I should be able to get it running. I'm not planning to polish it up and make it all shiny, I just want to use it for its intended purpose as a blow lamp. So I'll start off by applying some penetrating oil to all the screws and threads that I need to undo, and then I'll just leave it for a week or so. Right, it's now about a week later, and one or two of the screws have come undone, but the rest are seized solid. You can see at the front here a screw that someone has tried to undo in the past and sheared it off in the process. So it's time to apply a little heat, using my trusty, but not perfect for every job, gas blowtorch. And sorry about the wind noise in this video, every time I set up the camera the wind kicks up again. Anyway, that should be about hot enough, so let's give it a go. And that's the difference a bit of oil and heat can make. I'll leave everything in place for now, but I'll apply a little oil just to keep the thread moving nicely. Next are these screws that go into a threaded collar in the pressure tank. I'll be pretty careful with these because the last thing I want is to shear a screw leaving the thread stuck in the collar. Although there's no fuel in the tank, I'll remove the filler cap for safety. That way if something did ignite, it'll just vent out of the filler hole. The screw is good and seized and it's not showing any signs of budging. So here goes with some gentle heating. I'll play the torch on the screw head and try to avoid direct contact with the brass tank. I'm not sure if the fittings on these tanks are soldered or brazed, and I really don't want to melt any joints as I heat the screw. And technically brazing is also soldering, but I'd have little risk of melting a braze joint with this torch. Okay, I'll give it a go at that. So here goes. And that cracking sound as the rusty bond is broken is music to my ears. So now on to the other side. Same process round here, although maybe if I don't put my hand in the way you'll get a better view of the action. So I'll carefully heat the screw head, this time avoiding the filler neck, as much as possible anyway. Once the oil has burnt off and the thing is smoking, it should be about ready. So here goes. It's definitely tight. And there it is, that beautiful sound of the rust bond breaking. Excellent. I'll repeat this process on the remaining screws, but you really don't need to see that, so I'll just skip to the next section. So now, with all the screws freed off, I can begin dismantling the lamp, starting with the nozzle and tin work round the burner. I'm not planning to do much to the rusty tin work, I'll probably just oil it up after use to keep it from rusting much more. Anyway, with the cowling off we can now see the inner sections of the burner assembly. You've got the burner at the front with the vaporising pipes inside. The vaporised fuel comes out of the jet here and passes through to the burner. The flame in the burner heats up the pipes that vaporise the fuel. To start the lamp you put some methylated spirits in the tray here and light it. The heat from the burning meths heats up the vaporising pipes, and once they're hot enough, and before the meths all burns out, you pressurise the tank and turn on the regulator here, and away it goes. Anyway, I'll just oil up a few more parts and then leave it to soak some more. Okay, it's another day, and I've left the leather pump washer soaking in oil overnight. It's still a bit hard, but it should work okay for now. So I'll pour some oil into the pump barrel, and in this case some white spirits, because my paraffin isn't to hand right now, and then I'll see if I can free up the jammed one-way valve at the bottom of the pump barrel. So I'll pop the plunger in and screw the cap on, and then give it a pump. It's not budging so far, although some of the fluid is escaping past the leather washer on the plunger. And there it goes. That's definitely freed off the valve now. I'll give it a quick pressure test. I just need to close the bleed valve and filler cap, and then pump for a while. And now, having repositioned the camera, let's see if there's any pressure left in the tank. Excellent, that's working fine. I'll double check the one-way valve later on, but it held pressure for a few minutes just then, so it's certainly not too bad anyway. Next, it's on to the parts that definitely would be a problem if they broke. The jet in the middle, and the regulator needle at the back. Both are stuck fast, and I don't want to apply too much force to try and shift them. They've been soaking in oil for a few days, so I'll give the jet a go first. And you can see that it's flexing the entire burner assembly, so I'll support it as much as I can. And there it goes. That should be fine now. Yeah, apart from the fact I can't actually get the wrench on to turn it the rest of the way. Actually, it doesn't feel that tight, so I'll try with my fingers. Yeah, it's almost there, but it's sticking again, so more oil required. It finally came out with a lot more jiggling. Next, I'll put some oil into the hole and heat the tube to try and carry the oil into the seized regulator needle. As before, I'll exercise a little caution. I want to free the needle and not anneal or soften the regulator tube. I'll carry on gently heating until it's hot and smoky, and then add a bit more oil before trying the regulator. No movement so far, so I'll add more oil and apply more heat. And it's still seized, but I may as well try to remove the blanking plug above the jet because it might be easier to get oil in that way. And that was easy enough, although I'll need to slacken off the support bracket to get it the rest of the way out. Now for more heat, and I'll carry on with this process for as long as it takes. I can't apply massive force, particularly to the regulator wheel, which is only attached by small tabs of metal, and they're pretty rusty at that. Okay, that's hot and smoky again, and excuse the aircraft flying overhead. So a bit more oil, and another try. And bingo, one freed up regulator. Apart from I can't remove it all the way until I take the pump barrel off. This bracket needs to come off before I can remove the pump barrel. I've already slackened the screws, so it's a pretty easy job. And that's both screws out, and the bracket should now just wiggle out of its position. Like that. Next, to slacken the joint at the bottom of the barrel. There are flats on the base, so I'll hold them in a second wrench to prevent putting undue force on the feed pipe. And that was pretty easy. It's now just a case of unscrewing it the rest of the way by hand. And finally I can now unscrew the regulator needle the rest of the way. Talk amongst yourselves while I'm doing this bit. And you can see that it has a conical shaped end that will fit into a seat in the tube, so when it's screwed fully in it'll shut off the fuel supply. And of course the support bracket can also be removed now. I could remove the entire burner assembly by undoing this big nut under the meths tray, but there's not really any need as I'm not planning to polish anything, so I'll just leave that in place. I'm fairly sure there should be some wadding in the gland for the regulator needle to stop fuel escaping that way, but from the feel of it there's nothing in there, so I'll grab the wrenches and separate the joint. And as I suspected, there's no sign of wadding in there. So I'll go ahead and insert some. It'll be a bit of trial and error to get this bit right, but I'll add bits of cotton wadding until I think it feels right. And this is the second bit going in. And the third bit, which will hopefully be enough. Right, that's back together and it feels about how it should, so that bit's now done. On to the next task. I'm just going to take the leather pump washer off so I can soak it in a bit more oil. I could probably get a replacement, but I think this one will do for the time being. The leather seems flexible enough, so I'll carry on and separate the two metal halves to release the washer. I'll try to coax the leather outwards slightly so it seals to the pump barrel a bit better, and then I'll pop it back in oil until it's time to reinstall. As I said earlier, I'm not planning to make this blowtorch all shiny, but I will remove some of the rust from the pump rod so it doesn't grind against the top cap as you pump up the pressure. And that will do. There's still some rust and pitting at the top, but this section remains above the top cap, so I'll just oil it up and put it on one side for now. I'll give the regulator tube a quick clean out with a pipe cleaner, and then we're more or less ready to start the reassembly. So I might just play a bit of background music while I do that, and then after that we'll try the lamp out. So now for the lighting procedure. I've filled up with fuel, and it's normal practice to open the bleed valve before lighting the lamp, although that isn't essential with this particular design. Next, pour some methylated spirits into the tray under the burner, and light said meths. Thusly. Then move the tray back under the burner and leave the lamp to heat up. This takes about 3 minutes, so I'll spare you the boredom and skip to the part when the lamp is ready to start. Once the meths has nearly all burnt, close the bleed valve and give the handle a few pumps. Then turn the regulator on to allow the fuel to flow, and assuming everything is in order, the lamp will light. It was a bit breezy on the day I filmed this, and the burner hadn't fully got up to temperature, so there's initially some unvaporised fuel passing through the burner, hence the big yellow flame. But once it heated up a bit more, the flame cleaned up nicely. The lamp was still a bit temperamental at this stage, probably due to dirt lurking in the burner tubes, so it wouldn't stay alight for long, but you can see how much heat it pumps out as I hold this piece of wood in front of it. After another flush out of the burner tubes, the lamp was working much better, and I was able to actually use it to char this piece of wood, a trick I often do when making things that are intended to look old blend in with other aged timber. So that's more or less it, although I am going to need an image for the thumbnail for this video. So if I dribble some neat paraffin onto the burner, we should get lots of impressive looking flames, and don't try this at home. And that was lots of fun, so I'll do it again. And maybe once more for good measure. Woohoo! Anyway, this video has gone on much longer than planned, so I think I'll end it here. I'll put links in the description to some of the stuff I used to repair the blow lamp, and also to film the video. If you've enjoyed watching, please like the video and subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to click on the bell icon so you get notifications when new videos are released. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in a future video.